All right, now we're going to get into non-state actors, and this will be a two-part presentation. Over the course of this type of material, we definitely talk a great deal about the activities of nation-states in cyber warfare. Nation-states have the advantage in warfare, cyber or otherwise, of being on the proper, sometimes, but legal side of things. They also have the potential of having greater access to resources and materials. They do, however, have the considerable disadvantage of being bound by the rules and morals that are imposed on such entities by the collective nation states of the world, and are to a great extent restricted in their actions. This is a picture of Reagan at the Berlin Wall, strongly encouraging then the Soviet Union to tear down the wall. Why do I mention this? Well, because it could have blasted the wall down, but no, we have to, play a certain political game in order to, in this case, earn the freedom for millions of people behind the Iron Curtain, as it was called. Non-state actors, logically, are those that take actions of a cyber nature but are not directly part of a nation-state. States may certainly directly or indirectly employ or support such agents, particularly when they wish their activities to be clandestine or are operating outside of the bounds of law. And of course, we all, the United States, have employed such people in Afghanistan in the 1980s. We gave them all Stinger missiles. They beat the Russians. And then we wound up fighting them in the 90s and the 2000s. Awesome. So, non-state actors may include, just to name a few, script kiddies, scammers, hacktivists, black hat hackers, any number of individuals or groups, and we're going to talk about them throughout these presentations. Also under consideration when we look at non-state actors are the activities of terrorist groups. While such organizations once dependent solely on physical activities, largely revolving around the use of explosives to destroy people and resources, they too have been able to make use of the tools of modern technology. Terrorists now can make up use of systems and networks to not only plan and coordinate their attacks, but to potentially carry out the attacks themselves. Many non-state actors rightly fit into the same category as any other cyber criminal, or one possible exception is the corporation. By the way, that's a picture of Apple's new corporate headquarters. Is really cool. Their corporation. So, although we would like to think that most corporations generally follow the rules and regulations that bind such entities, we can see many illustrative examples in the media of this not being the case. The Enron scandal presenting an excellent example. Corporations are, in many cases, entities with access to a great deal of resources, and certainly should not be discounted as a factor in cyber conflict, as a victim or perhaps offender. Here's an example where one corporation did something very stupid. It's called the Sony Rootkit scandal. You can take a look at it online if you'd like. Basically, Sony put a piece of software in their CDs that they were selling people so that if you put on your computer, it would crash the computer. When I say crash, I mean crash bad crash. Another category with the potential to carry out cyber operations to great effect are criminal organizations. Such groups have not only a great deal of resources with which to back cyber attacks on a large scale, but have the organizational elements needed to manage them on such a scale as well. Criminal organizations often operate in a similar manner to corporations, although they do not have the same compunctions to follow the rules, certainly not, nor the same penalties for not doing so, and often are not bound by physical or national borders. In cyber warfare, many of the actions that we presently see taking place on a daily basis are presumably not the actions of nation-states due to their potential conflict with the laws of war, as we will discuss, or have discussed, depending. Basically, we see an innumerable a host of small attacks of various kinds. And these activities are mainly the work of individuals and small groups who are acting to gain notoriety, steal personally identifiable information, PIT, used in identity theft, and even doing so just for the illicit thrill. But of course, there's also espionage and other reasons. Such attackers range greatly in skill level, from the lowliest script kiddie who can only run automated tools, although often to great success, to the most highly skilled hacker who can penetrate a system with disturbing ease and leave no trace for the owners of the system to detect. As with many professions, there are a great number of those operating at the lowest levels of skill and only a rarefied few at the opposite end of the spectrum. As with ordinary criminals, those that are caught and prosecuted by law enforcement are often those that lack the skill to properly hide the traces of their activities, thus allowing them to be discovered. As with ordinary criminals, those that are caught and prosecuted by law enforcement are often those that lack the skill to properly hide the traces of their activity, thus allowing them to be discovered. Like in the game Marco Polo. Really? Okie doke. Anywho. Okay, also known as AKAs. We talked a bit about this in the Threatscape presentations. The general list of non-state actors can include actors such as script kiddies, malware authors, etc. And this is by no means an exhaustive list, but it does cover the main groups of such attacks or attackers. These groupings are not mutually exclusive, and a given attacker may indeed fit into more than one group. Additionally, the terms used to describe such individuals or groups are rather arbitrary. They tend to vary widely from one source to another. So these are the terms I'm going to use primarily. And I have other versions of those terms that are sometimes used in different literature and what have you. But we're going to be focusing on the non-state actors, not the nation states, but the people who are not per se agents of the state, although they could be de facto because maybe they're being supported or whatever. But anyway, the first one is the script kiddies are often the least skilled but most common of the non-state actors. The term script kiddie, often used in a derogatory sense, is used to describe someone of no particular skill at attacking systems. Script kiddies generally use scripts and tools that have been written by others in order to conduct their attacks, but have no great skill or ability beyond the use of such tools. Even so, such attackers are often successful, owing largely to the poor state of security in the systems being attacked and the very large number of internet-facing systems that are available to be attacked. The large number of easy-to-use system penetration tools that are available also contribute to the sheer number of attacks that come from this set of attackers. And you have illustrated there what's a concept called war driving, where these dudes roll around in these cars that are pimped out with all kinds of antennas and what have you. And they can use those to determine what networks are open, which are protected, whatever, and then use it as entree into causing havoc. Malware authors. What's malware? Mal, bad, ware, as in software, bad, software. Malware. 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 Anyway. Malware authors, malware authors can be, but are not always, a very specialized type of attacker. For those that actually write original items of malware, some certain amount of skill at programming and knowledge of the target operating system is required. Such talented developers of malware are capable of developing the malware that botnets utilize, and complex tools such as rootkits and other similarly crafted tools. The other source of malware, and the source of much of the malware that is loose in the wild, is in variations that are created from already existing sources. When we examine any item of common malware, we will likely find variants of it ranging into the dozens, if not more. Often, the reason for so many variants of a particular item of malware existing is the use of malware creation kits. Indeed, such software packages allow malware to be created by choosing from a set of options allowing the user to vary delivery methods, payload, means of propagation, and other similar factors. Indeed, truly, it's like an app. So there's an app for that, yeah, where you can click, okay, I want this thing to function this way, this way, this way, and work in this way. And it already has a pre-built script, so it'll package them for you, and then it's bam. Such software packages allow malware to be created. I just said that. Anyway. So there are 3 different kinds of malware. If you don't know the difference between them, look them up. You should have a reasonable knowledge of the difference between the two. But viruses basically are literally like a human virus, so they just spread. You come into contact with them. Worms are ones that actually seek out. They're programmed to act on their own and just go. Trojan horses are like music that you download with a virus or something else built in, and when you open it up, pop goes the Trojan horse. Get it? Like a Trojan horse. Scammers are often considered to be the lowest of the low when it comes to attackers. The scammers that are caught and discussed publicly often do not have the technical skill with attack tools of even the worst of script kiddies, as they prefer other methods of gaining their target information. Such scammers instead use tools that are of a social engineering nature, which I'll explain in a second, such as phishing or farming attacks. That's both with a PH, and if you don't know the difference, look it up. In order to trick their victims into willingly parting with the information that they wish to obtain. Indeed, human nature is always the weakest link in any organization's security program, and social engineering exploits the weaknesses. What are we talking about? Well, it's tricking people, basically. Maybe you send them an email that they think is from a trusted source, like HR or whatever, saying, hey, we need to update your something. Please click this button here, and bam, you've clicked that button, and something bad happens. Or you give them information, and something bad happens. What's their motivation? Money. The goal of the scammers is to separate their unwitting victims, often those that are not technically savvy, from their PII, personally identifiable information, which includes names, addresses, social security numbers, financial data, and other such information. Given this information, scammers will seek to drain the victim's bank accounts and run their credit cards up to the limit, often moving such funds out of the country where they cannot be recovered easily. The motivation of scammers almost universally is financial in nature. Scammers exist to, in one fashion or another, separate their victims from whatever items of value they might have. This might mean actual currency, information, physical objects, or any other means of storing value. Just a little side note. Scammers, like other criminals in general, are often largely represented in the public eye by the least skilled members of their profession. When law enforcement parades such people in front of the media after their arrests, it's easy for us to think that they are representative of the level of skill present among the entire group of people. In fact, it is good to bear in mind that the highly skilled scammer will considerably be more careful and subtle, and may not even realize that anything has happened until after they are long gone. There's a picture from an internet cafe in Nigeria, a well-known place for cyber scammers. So there you go. Black Hat. The Black Hat hackers, often simply known by the term Black Hats or hackers. Think cowboy movies, are the bad guys of the world, of the hacker world. Such hackers often have no particular care for the rule of law, the systems that they disrupt, or what ill effects that they cause. Black hats are distinguished from white hats, the good guys, who are often found working to foil the efforts of the black hats. And another type of hat is the gray hat. They're the ones who kind of ride the line between the two, often crossing from one side to the other as convenient. Identifying an attacker as a black hat often implies that they possess a certain level of precision and skill at attacking and exploiting systems and networks, at least in excess of the average script kiddie. Black hats may attack a system or network with a variety of motivations in mind. They may be doing so just for the thrill of exploiting a system, maybe after specific information on the system, maybe using the system as a pivot to attack an other systems on the same network, or any number of other reasons. Oh, sad Ronald. Okay, go on to part 2.